one game away. Blow up. We're playing for something, man. We're playing for something. Just gotta mean something, you. They gotta mean something. Everything you got. Let's finish this.
Do it, fellas.
Let's go.
Let's do it, fellas.
Finish 2 3. 1 2 3.
You ready to make history? Come on now. Yeah. You know, there's these two words. And when I say them, people get goosebumps because they know what happens next. So without further ado,
Free smoke.
look. Scared cause I'm drowning in silence with bad thoughts. These days I don't have nothing to say, man, the bag talks. I put in headphones on my driver. Pull up to the spot and give a good dick and Godiva. I can't lie, I'm uninspired. No more pillow talking about nonsense. I only stick around to put some band-aids on my conscience. I don't know why I feel so bad, nigga. That's what we do, no foundation. We don't build no more, we just screw. Half a bottle of Henny, girl, I'm going with the wind. The same niggas say they happy for me, ain't want me to win. So I'm done on my friends. Don't need help popping Coronas and reminiscing. I just call up Big Bro J and say it's time for venting. If I live forever, I hold this hate for some centuries. You don't know how much I have you doing what it meant to me, but motherfuck all that. I don't even offer up the time to make the call back. Stupid Lodo, if they don't get the picture now, man, I crop them out of the photo. I can't relate to my peers. Been doing this shit for years. I'm motivated by fears. I took the wheel and I steer. My sound not dictated by fuck boys in Atlanta. Stay gifted like this album was ghost written by Santa Bars forever, like they decided to throw me under Slammer. Every song's a hit like they picture me underhanders. I could drop 1,000,000 songs, but they never gon' understand us. Soapbox sermons for niggas never giving chances. Fight our whole lives to get these weak ass advances. Work twice as hard for the shit that they getting handed. And this ain't even nothing we chose, nigga, we branded. Still can't tell why all of these niggas mad at me. I'm trying to get 100 so I can put my team on salary. Give it all to the art, man, I turn my life to a gallery. Man, damn, what a fucked up masterpiece. 1,100 shots and I swear, man, I felt them all. If we ain't even good on our blocks, man, who can we call? Pre-decline state of mind, we broke crabs in the barrel. Got us fighting our folk, man, this shit just a life of peril.
Winning has a price. And leadership has a price.
Well, Dick, here's the deal. I'm the best there is, plain and simple. I mean, I wake up in the morning, I piss excellence, and nobody can hang with my stuff. I'm just a big, hairy American winning machine. If you ain't first, you're last.
Welcome back to another episode, and it might still be an echo. I'm not going to stunt with you. I'm not going to lie to you. It could possibly still be an echo because I am still in the same setup. I'm not going to lie to you. But listen. You're still rocking with me, and I appreciate you. I can't even talk. I appreciate you for that. Welcome back to another episode of Kicking It with Saint. I am your host, Saint, and let me tell you something right now. Woo! I'm about to make a name for myself here today. We are about to have a good show today. Listen, we have to go over each division in the NFL. We have to come to a conclusion on who we think will win each division. Now, I'm saying we, but ultimately it is my decision. Now, a good host, a prepared host, would have his division winners from last year on standby. But I don't think I need them. I'm pretty sure I can remember each team that I picked to win the division last year. Now, I might not remember exactly the order of which I had each team finishing in each division, but I'm pretty sure I remember each winner of the division that I chose. Now, some teams might have been affected because of injuries, because of bad play unexpectedly. I'm talking to you, Cincinnati. I'm talking to you, Philadelphia. Nonetheless, it's a whole new year. The 2025-26 NFL season is upon us. September 5th, Thursday Night Football returns with the Kansas City Chiefs defending their home territory after winning the Super Bowl last year against the Baltimore Ravens. In comes Action Jackson, taking on Pat Mahomes, the two best quarterbacks in the NFL, in my opinion. Not a recap. What word am I searching for? A budding rivalry. If Lamar can sing and the Ravens can seem to beat Pat Mahomes, and now when it matters, can you beat him in the playoffs is the question. But What is the word that I am searching for? I can't find the word at the moment, but it is a game. It is the AFC championship game. I really wish I could find that word. If I could find that word, it would work so good right now. But I can't find the word that I'm looking for right now. And I don't know why. So it's fucking my entire sentence up. It's fucking up what I have to say. Nonetheless, you have a replay of last year's AFC championship game. That might have been the word that I was searching for. Not for sure right now. My mind is in a fuzz. Anyways, can't wait. That game is almost here, meaning we got to talk about each team going into the next year, going into this year. We are about 2 weeks away from the kickoff of a new NFL season. And it couldn't come quick enough with my Philadelphia Phillies just shitting the bed left and right, every which way, since really coming back from London. But I'm not going to focus on the Phillies right now. We're going to get right into it because we have 32 teams to go over, technically. So let's kick it off with the NFC. I know if you watched the show, you probably thought I was going to start off with the AFC North. We're not going to start off with the AFC North. We're going to start off with the NFC teams. Then we will get to the AFC teams. And we will probably finish it off with the AFC North. First, we're going to go through the NFC North, then the NFC South. Then the NFC East, then the South, then the West. And we're going to go through that same. And then when we get to the AFC, we will do the AFC West, South, East, and finish it off with the North. All right. So, starting it off, the NFC North. You got the Green Bay Packers, the team that obviously I root for at the moment because I'm a big Jordan Love guy. I rock with Jordan Love. Think he's a great quarterback. If you saw that, he got a lot of Aaron Rodgers in him. He made a lot of Aaron Rodgers S-type throws last year. I think the thing with Jordan Love is it's not. I don't really think it's the decision making as much as it is when you know you can throw every pass in the book. You tend to rely too heavily on being able to do that and not respect. And it's not intentional that you don't respect the defense. You just say to yourself, I can make all these throws. So this is a throw that I believe I can make. And that can get you into trouble sometimes. You can end up throwing interceptions like that. Now, if Jordan Love, who was phenomenal in the second half of the season, now you have an expectation coming into this season. I expected Jordan Love to be good last year. He ended up finishing that season strong. He ended up having a great playoff run. Now the entire world expects you to do it again and possibly even get further. Now, I reject this notion that the Packers have 4 number ones. I actually don't think it's a single receiver on the Packers team that's better than Devontae Smith. Devontae Smith is a number 2 receiver who is close to a number 1, like as close as you could possibly get to a number 1. I don't think it's a single receiver on the Packers right now that's better than Devontae Smith. I wouldn't take a single receiver on the Packers over Devontae Smith right now. So I do not believe that the Packers have 4 number ones, but I do like the Packers receiving core. Now, if Christian Watkins can stay healthy this year, that will do a lot for this team because he is clearly one of Jordan Love's favorite targets. And the fact that he can stretch the field the way he can, like, they have a lot of good receivers. I just think Watkins is actually the best. Now, I understand if you don't feel like he is the best one on the team, but after watching last year, and I'm actually drawing a blank on the name of the second one, it's another receiver on the Packers. I actually like all 4 of their receivers, but 2 of them in specific. It's Watkins, and it's what is this motherfucker's name? If you watch the Packers, you know who I'm talking about, bro. But I cannot. This is the problem when you got 4 receivers. None of them are household names because Watkins is not a household name either, in my opinion. Even though the funny thing about Watkins, you would not have believed he was as good as he was last year if you had just gone off of how much Aaron Rodgers did not really fuck with him in year 1 because of the drops and whatnot. His improvement from year 1 to year 2 was crazy. He just couldn't stay healthy. He kept getting hurt. Nonetheless, The receivers are also not the problem for the Packers. To me, this is the thing with the NFC. I don't truly believe that the NFC has they don't have a Buffalo Bills, a Baltimore Ravens, a Kansas City Chiefs, a Cincinnati Bengals. They just don't have a team, in my opinion, right now where I can look at that team and say, not only do they have a good offense and a great defense, but they have the quarterback to make it all go together. And so because they don't have that, I do believe the Packers can get by right now without having a number one. Because all of their receivers are basically number twos, with the back end probably being, a bottom half number two, more of a three, but they can get off as a number two because of how good Jordan Love and Matt LaFleur's offense is. At the moment, because if you looked at the NFC and you said, who the best team in the NFC right now? A lot of people would probably say the San Francisco 49ers. And as good as the 49ers defense is, I actually don't think that their defense is as great as as good as their defense is to me, it's not as complete as like a Ravens defense, where the Ravens have all levels covered. They had a good pass rush from the front. They had great linebacking play and a great secondary. I don't think that most great quarterbacks will play against the 49ers and think to themselves, I can't pass on these corners. Or if you slow down Bosa, I can't find a way to make shit happen in the pocket. To me, as good as the 49ers defense is, a product of how great they are exaggerated numbers against bad quarterback play in the NFC. If they had to play against quarterbacks like Joe Burrow, Pat Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson on a regular basis, I don't think the numbers for that defense would look as great as they are now. I'm not telling you that the 49ers defense isn't a good defense, but what I'm telling you is I watched the Baltimore Ravens defense play against great quarterbacks and great teams and actually slow them down and actually have them play so far below what they usually play. While that did happen with the 49ers, it was against lesser competition, lesser quarterbacks. So the eye test for me is far more overwhelming than what the numbers may say. Because I say it all the time. We always talk about what team is rated this and that. But at the end of the day, it's a hard thing to really rank if you take a deep dive at every single aspect of how you rank things. So you might say this defense is great. And I might look at it and say, it's a good defense, but I think it's not as great. And you might say why? Because you say the numbers say that's a great defense. And I'll say the numbers do say that's a great defense. However, what the numbers don't tell you is they done played against 5 quarterbacks that are backups. They done played against 3 offenses that don't average more than 15 points a game. In the midst of that, they played against 2 quarterbacks that average about 30 points a game, and they lost bad against both of those teams. Now, those 2 game stats will get buried because of how the numbers they put up against these other bad teams. But what I'm saying is when you take a deep dive into it, they aren't the defense that you might think they are, which I felt like was proven last year towards the back end of the season when they started having to play the tougher teams on a more regular basis. The Packers did work on the defense. Pat Mahomes in that. And I think that the best game that I saw the 49ers play defensively last year was in the Super Bowl. To me, that was the best their defense looked against a top tier quarterback. Even though I understand the Chiefs fans who will come in and say, well, our offense really wasn't, stacked like it usually is. I get that. The Chiefs were more of a defensive team last year with Pat Mahomes just showing you his greatness by making the big plays when they had to be made. So I do understand that. But nonetheless, I still feel the same way about that Packers defense. So jumping back to Jordan Love and the Packers, the reason I believe that they don't necessarily need a number one right now is because I don't see a team in the NFC like I see the defense for the Chiefs. A Chiefs defense that's consistently having to go against top quarterbacks and top offenses in the AFC. I don't have the faith in the defense over in the NFC like I have in the Baltimore Ravens, who legitimately play against top tier quarterbacks, top tier teams. So until I feel that way about a team in the NFC, I don't really think having a number one receiver matter that much. And that's why, to me, for some of the people who think that the receiving position could possibly be a problem for the Packers, I don't think that'll be the case. Like I said, Jordan Love, to me, what he has to do is get better with decision makings in a sense of, I know I can make every throw in the book, but should I attempt this throw? Because the reality is, Jordan Love going to have a lot of wide open throws he can make this year because Matt LaFleur is just a great offensive game planner. Now, what I'm interested in is the running game. You have Josh Jacobs, and I do believe that now losing Aaron Jones is big because I thought Aaron Jones, to me, the way I feel about Aaron Jones, a healthy Aaron Jones, and, maybe this is the back end of his career where he's starting to get hurt after he got hurt last year. I don't know, but I'm not going to say it's a downgrade. What I will say is Josh Jacobs does not bring the receiving threat that Aaron Jones brought, because Aaron Jones legitimately could line up in the slot or go outside and play receiver and could actually do work for you. That's how great he was at catching the ball. And he could also run for 1,000 yards. That's, to me, what made Aaron Jones so special. Now, I don't believe that Josh Jacobs will be, I do think he'll catch the ball this year because Matt LaFleur's offense, running backs have to catch the ball. But I don't think he'll be for them what Aaron Jones was. However, I do believe you'll get just about the same, if not better, production running the ball. You have a running, mind you, the Packers have a good backup running back also. So they have, because they still have Dillon. So to me, the Packers run game, I'm not worried about it just because they lost. See, this is how you know I'm not biased, because I'm a big I'm a big Aaron Jones fan. But I don't think the Packers got worse. I mean, you could actually make an argument that they got better at the running back position. Like I said, though, neither of the running backs they have right now present anywhere near the threat receiving wise that Aaron Jones presented. But I do believe in Matt LaFleur's offense, so I'm not too worried about that aspect of it. The Packers' offensive line is fine. They had a good offensive line last year. I think they'll have a great offensive line this year. The thing that'll make their offensive line even better, one of the things I don't like is when we dog offensive lines all the time, but sometimes it really is the quarterback. Some of the plays, don't get me wrong, the Packers had bad plays from the offensive line at points in times last year, but for the most part, the Packers line wasn't the problem. The O-line sometimes, when you have a young quarterback back there, he's gonna make rookie mistakes. He's gonna make decisions that fuck the line, and in the end, fuck him. At the end of the day, Jordan Love is in year 2 of starting. I think there will be such a draft. I think that the Packers could end up being a top 2 scoring offense this year. That's how much faith I have in the Packers offense with Love, LaFleur, those receivers, the run game, the offensive line. Not to mention, I'm one of those people who continuously says the Packers defense, this is one of those things where I get irritated by the numbers, because the numbers have all these different things to say about the Packers defense. The Packers defense has not been the problem with the Packers for a little minute. The Packers defense played good enough to win that game last year in the AFC game, in the NFC game against the 49ers. The last year Aaron Rodgers was with the Packers, everybody kept talking about the defense, this defense. They played more than good enough to get the Packers into the playoffs. Last year, yes, they had, and mind you, the Packers have dealt with multiple injuries throughout the last 3 years on defense with great players. I don't know why I can't talk. Great players have been going down for the Packers. They still play good enough defensively to win games. So the Packers defense is my problem. They probably have 1 or 2 games, max 3, if that, a year where the defense is just god awful. But the Packers defense has not, to me, been so bad that it's a considerable problem. I think they have a good enough secondary. They had so many good players in the secondary, they was able to trade away one. I don't agree with trading away Rasul Butler because I thought he was one of the better secondary pieces, but nonetheless, and you see how good he played with Buffalo when he got traded, but nonetheless, they had the pieces to replace him. the linebacking core. Now, that is the only problem for me. Campbell, to me, cannot be your starting middle linebacker. Now, I do believe, if I'm remembering correctly, they replaced Campbell this year because Campbell is not fast enough to play the middle linebacking position anymore. Now, he could probably play a different, position within the defense, whether it be an outside linebacker or get on the defensive line. I just know last year he got beat too many times when it came to tight ends and slot receivers having to defend that position. I don't think Campbell is a bad player. I just think it's time to upgrade the linebacking position for Green Bay. Preston Smith is a good pass rusher. I just don't know what you're going to get from him on a year in, year out basis. I think he is a good enough player to where you can continue to have faith in him that he's going to be a great player, but I just don't know sometimes. You know what I'm saying? Matter of fact, I need to check if he is even still on the team. Because I didn't even check to see if Preston was on the team. I just imagine that he would still be on the team because Green Bay is one of those teams that usually keep their homegrown players. And they don't get rid of them for a long time. Like Clay Matthews was well past a good Clay Matthews before the Packers let him go. And I don't even blame Clay, even though he did get injured a lot. They took him off of the defensive line, moved him to linebacker. It's not even that they took him off the defensive line. He was not even a defensive lineman. He was an outside linebacker, and they moved him inside. That was one of the craziest things I had ever seen, bro. You turn this. All right, but we're not here to just talk about the Green Bay Packers. The Lions, the Bears, the Vikes are in this division now. Another big talking point of this division. Chicago Bears. Now, I told you last year, if you didn't watch, I was a big fan of Chicago's growth defensively and where they were headed defensively. I think towards the end of the season, the defense started to look really good. And, of course, Matt Eberflus is a defensive-minded head coach. So that's the one thing I always say. If you're a defensive-minded head coach, you better have a good defense. If you're an offensive-minded head coach, you better have a good offense. Because if you don't, what the fuck did we hire you for? The only way you can get away with having a bad offense or a bad defense is if you don't specialize in either of the two. Or if you specialize in defense, okay, I'm not expecting you to have a world-beating offense because I understand all the greatest offensive minds end up getting hired as head coaches anyways. But still, I can't take it when you specialize in one thing and that side of the ball is tragically bad. So I think Eberflus has already started to turn around the Bears defense. I think the Bears defense was good last year, especially towards the back end of the season. This is my problem with the Bears. And it's not necessarily a problem with the Bears, more of the talking heads and the fans. A lot of the problems with the Bears were over exaggerated because people love Justin Fields. And I've never seen a love affair like this for a quarterback or a player that's just not good or hasn't shown you that he is anywhere near where he needs to be. And so people killed the receivers. They killed the coaches. They killed the offensive line. They killed the defensive line. They killed the linebackers. They killed the secondary. They killed the kickers. And they just kept repeatedly doing that on a year in, year out basis. Instead of talking about all the things that Justin Fields could and could not do and what he should have been able to do by this point in his career and what he had not been able to do to this point in his career. It was wild. So with that, you have incoming Caleb Williams. You bring in a great receiver in the draft. You bring in Keenan Allen. You re-sign, what's my man's name? DJ Moore. You have a great, you signed you signed DeAndre Swift in the offseason. The Bears looked like they could have a top offense in the NFL for years to come. Now, I'm not going to jump the gun. I'm not going to get ahead of myself. Caleb Williams is still a rookie. And the one thing Saint going to always do is give rookies grace. I'm always going to give rookies grace. I don't care how highly touted you are coming out of college, going into a sport. If you are a rookie, you deserve grace because you are now playing with grown-ass men and grown-ass women. That's just the reality. I don't expect, even if you are a great scorer in college, I don't expect you to be a pristine, great scorer when you get to the big leagues because you have to have time to adjust. That's why I don't get on here or on Twitter and shit on Angel Reese for having off shooting nights. because I'm not a hater for one. And I don't thrive in hate. And I understand she's a rookie. If Angel Reese, by year 3 or 4, she already this good year 1. By year 3 or 4, when she done worked with different people on how to become a better finisher and scorer, she could literally be a 20-20 player. She already a walking double-double. Just imagine what happens after her rookie years and she's become more pristine. I don't understand why people love hating. I really don't. But I done heard this dumbass Acho multiple times put these ridiculous expectations on Caleb Williams coming in just because he felt like, well, look at all the talent they have. I done seen players with a lot of talent not get it done. Now, credit to Joe Burrow, who did help get his team to a Super Bowl with all the talent they had on that team. But he still didn't win a Super Bowl. You see, I done said this multiple times. When you have that type of talent on a team, it is a time clock eventually going to be started because eventually you got to pay Caleb Williams. And so if you don't get what you need to get done within that time frame, it can be very hard to win at the same rate or as easy as you might have won before, because the Bengals don't have Tyler Boyd anymore. Next year, they probably won't have T. Higgins. So the way that they could go into Arrowhead and go against the Bills when they have far more firepower on the team, they don't have Joe Mixon now. When you start to pay players, you lose great players. So there is a clock that started. However, with that being said, Caleb Williams is still a fucking rookie. Now, if Caleb Williams have a good rookie year, now, and it's also expectations because he still was the first pick in the draft. So year 2, year 3. Now, you know how I feel about year 2. If you watch the show, listen, a lot of these great young quarterbacks, it only took them a year or 2 to show us how great they were. So I do expect Caleb Williams to be good this year, but I expect him to be great next year. To which I will get on here and say, all right, clock started, my boy. You got to get to a Super Bowl and win that thing with all this talent before you don't have this type of talent around you. This is why I'm so critical of teams who don't do this type of thing. The Baltimore Ravens went all in on the defensive side of the ball, getting meaningless running backs, signing meaningless receivers instead of going all out while Lamar was on a rookie contract. And they made him play out his rookie contract. So they would have had an extra year to work with a top tier player. They never went and surrounded him with that type of talent. The Eagles have paid Jalen Hurts and are still surrounding him with top tier talent. It's just levels to this thing, man. It's just levels to it. Give me a second. I got to take a sip of my drink. Now, I like the Bears. Like I said, I got faith in Caleb Williams. I think he'll be a good quarterback. Now, I don't know if he is Pat Mahomes. I'm seeing a lot of people say he reminds me of Patrick Mahomes. I don't know. We'll find out. I think it's interesting saying somebody remind you of Pat Mahomes when we didn't even think Pat Mahomes was Pat Mahomes coming into the NFL. Now, when it comes to the Detroit Lions, I still don't like the defense. I'm not the biggest fan of the Detroit Lions defense. Pretty much the exact same way I felt about Detroit last year, I feel about them the same way about them this year. I like the offense. I do think that they have a good enough offense. Jared Goff still has a ceiling. I don't understand these people, the analysts and whatnot going on TV and overhyping Jared Goff. Jared Goff has not done anything out of the ordinary of what he has been his entire career, yo. His highest highs are no different than what they have been throughout his entire career. So I don't understand why people continue to get on TV and form new opinions on Jared Goff. as if he has become anything different than what he has been his entire career. Jared Goff is still a dude who need a good system around him, who need great players around him. He is not lifting the tide, which is why it's crazy that I done seen people go on TV and say, look at what Jared Goff did for the Lions. Look at all the talent Jared Goff got over there on that offense. Nobody said Jared Goff was a scrub. Jared Goff is just not one of those quarterbacks that can lift the talent of his team. When he was great with the Rams, he had a lot of talent around him. He was good with this Lions team. It's no coincidence. A lot of talent around him. I don't understand how Lamar Jackson is a quarterback that is continuously criticized. He ain't never had the type of talent Jared Goff done had around him when he was in LA or with Detroit. And Jared Goff, yes, he has gotten to a Super Bowl. Did he win it? No. And it would have been real nice to have a quarterback that could have been played above the playbook in those moments. Sean McVay knew Jared Goff wasn't that guy. He went out and got him a guy who he felt like was. Now, coincidentally, Matthew Stafford didn't really play as big a role in the actual Super Bowl win as maybe Coop and Aaron Donald did. But nonetheless, he did. He was better than he could make the throws that they felt like Jared Goff couldn't make. And I agree. Now, I love Aiden Hutchinson. I think he done got better from year 1 to year 2. I expect year 3 to be even better. But Aiden Hutchinson by himself to me is right now still not enough. I still think Detroit's secondary, not good enough. Their secondary can still be had. I don't think their linebacking core is good enough. I'm not telling you they got a bad linebacking core, but it's not an upper echelon linebacking core. I don't think they have an upper echelon pass rush on the defensive line, but Aiden Hutchinson is a top tier. He an upper echelon pass rusher because I don't want to put him over guys who are clearly better than him. But to me, what the Lions are relying on is that offense and the offensive coordinator continuing to carry this team, because Dan Campbell, to me, I still will say, I don't know what he does. I don't know what he brings to this team. Just a bunch of yelling on the sideline, just a bunch of over emotional interviews, just a bunch of, man, Detroit and Detroit this and Detroit that, man. And, if you're a Detroit fan, man, just a bunch of that bullshit to pull on the heartstrings of Detroit fans. I wish fans were smarter than this, but, the only time fans seem to grow a brain and don't care about this type of pandering is when they're actually losing. So this is my thoughts on Detroit. Detroit may overcome my expectations this season. To me, this is the thing about Detroit. If you go into the season saying Detroit will be as good as they were last year, I just think that's foolish, because I don't think what Detroit showed you last year was a team that will be consistently great going forward. I think this is still a team that could be great, could be bad, could be great, could be bad. I don't think it's as bad as the New York Giants. I'm not telling you what I told you when the New York Giants made the playoffs, and then I told you after they lost, yeah, this team won't be back next year. This will be one of the worst teams in the NFL. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm telling you is Jordan Love is a better quarterback than Jared Goff. What I'm telling you is Caleb Williams could very well end up being a better quarterback than Jared Goff. And then you got J.J. McCarthy, who is out this year, and I don't know what he'll be. But because of how I feel about Jared Goff, because of how I see the Detroit Lions, I'm gonna put them in second place in this division. I really wanted to put them in third, but I'm not going. I need to see Chicago before I just rank them in second. So the way I have the NFC North playing out, I had the Green Bay Packers finishing in first. I have the Detroit Lions finishing in second. The Chicago Bears will finish in third. And I think the Vikings will finish in last in the division. Now, the Vikings, a big reason for me feeling like they'll finish in last is because I didn't have a lot of faith in J.J. McCarthy from the beginning, but now he is hurt he out for the entire season. And now you have to go with basically a makeshift start at quarterback. They'll probably go through like 3 quarterbacks, probably 4 or 5 throughout the season. I just don't think you could play the game like that, especially when the division that you're playing in is no longer as bad as they used to be. Like, a lot of your division is getting better. The Lions have a great offense, and they're good enough to beat up on bad teams now. The Packers have a great quarterback and a great head coach. And then you look at the Bears who could be coming. So I just think because of uncertainties at the quarterback position, and because I just don't think that the Vikings are a great defense either. And the offensively, I don't think they have a good run game. You got Justin Jefferson, but you no longer have Kirk Cousins, who is, as much as we talk about Kirk Cousins, he still could. Yeah, I just think the Vikings are finishing last in this division this year. But Packers, Lions, Bears, Vikes. I apologize, Vikes fans. This is just how I feel. NFC East. It's division with the Eagles, the Cowboys, the Washington football team. I know that the Commanders is just the Washington football team sounded better. Nonetheless, and the New York Giants. Now, I will go ahead and tell you off rip, I think the Giants are going to finish in last in this division. Now, the Giants have pieces that I like on that defense. Lawrence, Thibodeau. They got a lot of great players on that team defensively that I like. I just don't have faith in Daniel Jones. And you no longer have Saquon, who you can turn around and hand the ball off to make everything okay for you and to get everything back under control for you. I don't think you have a great skill position right now. I don't think the offensive line is really that great right now. As good as your defense is at times, they still as a unit are not, upper echelon defense. I don't really like much about the New York Giants. I think the best players on that team should actually have been trying to look for a trade, because I don't see how the New York Giants can be good anytime soon. Not because I don't think that they can. The only way I see New York getting better anytime soon is if they absolutely have the worst record in the NFL this year, and there is a surefire top tier quarterback waiting for them to be drafted at number 1. Because if that does not happen, with the Packers being a good team with a quarterback, with the Lions having an offense, with the Bears possibly having a quarterback now, with the Cowboys and the Eagles having good teams, good quarterbacks, Washington could possibly have a quarterback now with who they drafted. The Falcons could have a quarterback figured out. It's just too many. The Panthers could end up figuring this thing out with their quarterback. It's too many teams now in the NFC that could possibly be starting to figure this thing out. And more importantly than figuring it out, they could be figuring out their franchise quarterbacks. When that is the case, you just cannot be where the Giants are right now. You can't. And you have to pray and hope that you finish work bad enough to end up getting that number 1 pick in the draft. And then you got to hope that you nail the number 1 pick in the draft at the quarterback position, because at the state, it come a time where you can no longer take any other position over a surefire quarterback, or a quarterback that could possibly like a Josh Allen or Carson Wentz, where they got a high upside to you. So you got to take that chance, because the way teams are starting to figure out their quarterback positions in the NFC, it's no longer going to be as weak as it's been in recent years. So I don't think you had a luxury to continue to march Daniel Jones out there when you should have known he wasn't the answer 2-3 years ago, in my opinion. So the Giants will finish in last place in this division, in my opinion. I think the Washington Commanders will finish in 3rd place in this division. I like Jaden McDaniels. I'm not quite sure. I'm putting the same thing on him that I'm putting on Caleb Williams, basically. He is a rookie. I cannot put, and I like the weapons that Washington have. Now, here's my thing. Your head coach, Quinn, is a defensive-minded guy. Now, he has shown that he can hire good offensive guys. However, you know what? It ain't even a however. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. I think Dan Quinn is a good leader of men. It didn't work out in Atlanta at the end of the day, but after losing the Super Bowl the way they lost it, I expected it to end the way it ended. I'm interested to see how Washington is this year. I think they will be a far more competitive team than they were under Ron Rivera. If you watch the show, if you don't watch the show, I am not a fan of Ron Rivera. I think he is a highly overrated head coach. I think he should probably be a positional coach more than a head coach. I don't care that he don't won like 2 Defensive Players of the Year awards. Coach of the Year awards. Could care less about that. I'm not going to go into my whole diatribe about Ron Rivera right now, but just know I am not a Ron Rivera guy. I truly believe the Washington, one of the biggest upgrades they made in the offseason was letting Ron Rivera go. Now, I'm not a fan of Eric Bieniemy's situation. I don't know how this man is not a head coach in the NFL yet. I don't know how he is still not an offensive coordinator at the very least in the NFL yet. Nonetheless, I do think Washington even is headed in a good direction. I like the weapons they have over there with Daniels. He could end up starting, to be completely honest with you. He could end up starting. I wouldn't be opposed to it. It's just I'm going to give him the same grace that I get. And listen, every rookie quarterback in this draft ain't going to hit. I understand that. But I'm going to be more optimistic about it because a lot of people didn't think C.J. Stroud was going to be what C.J. Stroud is. So I tend to I'm going to be a little bit more optimistic. If an Ohio State quarterback can hit, then damn it, it's hope out there. But I have Washington finishing in third. I do like Washington's defense. I think that, listen, to me, Washington having the talent has not been the problem. It's been quarterback and head coach. And to me, Ron Rivera is a defensive-minded head coach. Why is your defense, with all the talent that defense had, that you ended up having to trade away, why was that defense never a top 1, top 2, top 3, top 4, top 5 defense in the NFL? Because you had the talent for that defense to be a top 5 defense year in, year out. Never was. I don't understand that. That was one of the most littered. That defense had so much talent littered through it. All you had to do was figure out what's the system, what's the scheme, how to put these dudes in position to be successful and get the most out of them. Never figured that out, but kept the head coaching job for that long. Unreal to me. People going to Eric Bieniemy after 1 year having to deal with Sam Howell, but Ron Rivera done had all this type of talent on the defense for this many years, and I don't hear a peep about him till it's the end of it. This is why I'm not even gonna say what I was about to say next, but I'm not sure how long Washington keeps some of these, like Deron Payne, Jonathan Allen. I don't know if they are still on Washington when Washington finally gets good again. They might be with Washington the resurgence year 1 year, but I still believe those are two players who need to be traded to contending teams. So that because by the time Washington might be good again, those two might be on the back end of their primes. And they are still young right now. I think both of them still in their 20s. But what I'm saying is you can't expect that. Well, no, this thing can flip in 1 year. But with Washington's management, what it's been over the last, I understand it's got new ownership and whatnot. It's just it's a tough hill to climb. But I guess if the Texans could flip the narrative on them within the 3-4 years that they did, I guess you could do it. But I'm still a firm believer you should probably go out and trade either Deron or Jonathan Allen. That's just my opinion. But, I got them finishing in third. But I do think Washington will be a very competitive team, especially if they get a good play from the quarterback position, even though I do understand the quarterback is a rookie. Now, finishing in second in this division, I got the Cowboys. Now, listen. People gonna start thinking that like I got some type of bias towards the Eagles or something because I always put them over the Cowboys. But listen, quarterback to quarterback, I don't think Jalen Hurts is the better thrower of the football that Dak is. However, I do think Dak throw for a lot of empty calories a lot of times. I think a lot of Dak's biggest passing games throughout his career have been losses that didn't even fucking matter, and he didn't do what he. See, this is my thing that I get irritated with when people overhype Dak. And I like Dak. But it is very clear that Dak does not play good against great teams. Like, this is not me saying Dak don't play good in the playoffs. This is me saying Dak don't play good against good teams, period, in my opinion. If Dak got to go into a game where the other team have Pat Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, somebody of that caliber on the other side, you can chalk that up as an L. Dak's not winning that game. The bigger problem that I have is not only do he not compete good against the top quarterbacks, if Jalen Hurts or Brock Purdy is having a great season and their team is hitting on all cylinders, Dak's not beating that team either. And so that's my problem with Dak Prescott. Whereas I've seen Jalen Hurts play good against Pat Mahomes. I've seen Jalen Hurts play good against Brock Purdy. I've seen Jalen. I know people going to talk about how he played last year, but He also beat Brock Purdy. I've seen Jalen Hurts play good against Josh Allen. I've never seen Dak Prescott play good against the top tier quarterbacks and the top tier teams in the NFL. I know he can put up some good games against the Eagles here and there because he played them every year. But he play them twice a year. If the Eagles are a top tier team this year, Dak probably won't end up beating them. That's my problem with Dak. It's bigger than just the playoffs. Dak is not good against great teams. And then once the game has already been decided, that's when he start putting together these meaningless stats to make it look like the team didn't lose by that much or to make it look like Dak still had a good game. It's the same movie on repeat for Dak, the same song. So I think that's what I get irritated with when people talk, because I'm never going to down Dak. I'm never going to tell you Dak is trash. I'm never going to say nothing like that. But it is very obvious after what Dak been in the league for like 6-7 years at this point, could be more. Dak don't play good when you need Dak. And see, this is one of my problems. Go look at Josh Allen, Pat Mahomes, Lamar, Burrow. Go look at them when they play against top teams, top quarterbacks. Regular season, playoffs, I don't care. They show up. Now, I expect for it to be tougher in the playoffs. I get that. I get it. But Dak is also not good in the regular season against great teams. They lost against the fucking Packers in the playoffs. What? The Packers were not a top team last year in the NFC. Now, I know some people want to be like, well, you know, Josh Allen done lost in the playoffs. Lamar done lost in the playoffs. You're not hearing me. You're not hearing me. The teams that Lamar done lost to in the playoffs either were the top rated team. Now, I understand it. Lamar done lost as the top team in the conference. Has Dak Prescott ever gone into a playoff series as with a bye week or as the number one seed? Let's first get that out the way because that still matters. But two, Dak is not playing against these AFC teams. I keep telling y'all that the AFC is the far better division, and I'm not going to stop saying that right now until the NFC becomes a better division or conference. Dak is not playing against the Bills, the Bengals. Hell, he didn't have to play against the Titans when they had Derrick Henry. He's not playing against the Bengals. He's not playing against the Ravens. In my opinion, every team that I just named, with the exception of even the Titans at that point in time, would have found a way, in my opinion, to beat these NFC teams that Dak done lost against. So for that reason, it's just very hard for me to put Dak higher than I can put higher than I put the Eagles, because the Eagles have Jalen Hurts, who I have more faith in than Dak Prescott. Even though Dak might be the better thrower of the football to people, he might look better for Dak to a lot of people. And that's the thing that really irritates me. People care too much about quarterbacks who make it look good throwing the ball to throw for all these stats. Dak has not had a better career, right, in my opinion, than Jalen Hurts has right now. And you don't think, most of y'all don't even think Jalen Hurts can throw. But like I done said multiple times, at some point in time, it have to be about winning. What is the end result? And then when you're looking at winning, let's take a deeper dive. Like I talk about when you ranking defenses and shit. The teams that Dak is beating are not the top teams, are not the top quarterbacks. If we can't sit down and have that real discussion, then what are we doing? I have no type of ill will towards the Cowboys or Dak Prescott. I like the Cowboys roster, even though I don't think it's as good a roster as it's been over the last couple years. You got to imagine Lawrence going to take a step back because he getting older. I love Micah Parsons. I don't know how he ain't got extended yet, but that's one of the premier defenders in the league. One of the premier pass rushers, game records in the league. I love Micah Parsons. I love the secondary for the two corners, even though you lose Stephon Gilmore. What's my man? Diggs coming back from an injury. So that's going to be interesting. So you could be very challenged defensively this year. It could be a very tough year defensively for Dallas. That's just my honest opinion when I look at the Dallas Cowboys. And then when you look at the running back position, yeah, you brought Zeke back. You really should have probably never let him go because I said it when they let him go. I said, I don't know if that's the right decision because I don't think Tony Pollard can be the number one guy right now where he get as many carries as you're going to probably want him to have. So I don't think that you can really say that the running back position is better. The receiving position, yes, still look good. But this is my thing. What happened to Dallas? What has Dallas added, or what about Dallas make you think they're going to be any different than they've been the last couple years, where they pile up a bunch of wins, but are ultimately still the same team that cannot beat the Pat Mahomes, the Josh Allens, the Lamar Jacksons, the 49ers, the Cincinnati. I see nothing that's changed with that. Now, when I go to the Eagles, who I have finishing first in the division, completely different story in my opinion. Now, the Eagles defense cannot look like it looked last year. If it looks any way that it did, which I think Vic Fangio will help out, but at the end of the day, tackling is just effort. If motherfuckers don't want to tackle, what can you do? Now, I don't believe that will be the case this year. I have a lot of faith that the Eagles defense will not look the way it looked last year. I don't think that the Eagles defense is bad anyways, but I don't like the secondary of the Eagles, just like I haven't liked the secondary of the Eagles the last 3 years. I've been very consistent that I don't like the secondary of the Eagles, bro. It's not necessary. I think it's because I always wanted to be a cornerback if I ever made it, and that's the position I play. So I look at the secondary a certain way. And when I look at the Eagles secondary and the Cowboys secondary, every time I'm going at a secondary, because I know a lot of shows talk about defenses and they don't really, very few shows actually go into depth on the levels of defense that they talk about. They just talk about it as a whole. I don't have a problem with the Eagles linebacking core. I don't have a problem with the Eagles defensive line. My problem with the Eagles is that secondary. I can't trust it. They got old legs out there. I just don't know what to expect from that secondary, to be completely honest with you. However, because I believe that the Eagles offense will return to form this year and be one of the top 5 offenses in the NFL, I think the Eagles are about to get right back to business that they left off of 2 years ago when they got out of that Super Bowl. They got the Super Bowl hangover out the way. I think that the Eagles are going to be a problem with the weapons that they have, with the dude that they just acquired from the Commanders. I believe that this Eagles team is going to be a problem once again. Now, Jalen Hurts, very controversial quarterback at the moment. A lot of people don't really fuck with him that much in the sense of they don't think he is that great. You ask any Philadelphian, they're going to defend him to the death. I was an Alabama fan for basically all my life of rooting for college football, so obviously I'm biased. I love Jalen Hurts. Ain't it refreshing when a motherfucker get on here and tell you he biased? I ain't just gonna be lying to you, acting like I never rooted for Jalen Hurts. But I like Jalen Hurts. And if you had seen the Jalen Hurts with locks that was at Alabama, the strides he done made in being a quarterback that can be in the pocket and operate is just, he a night and day quarterback at this point. I love Jalen Hurts, man. And that's where my bias is starting to come out. But I truly do believe that Jalen Hurts is the better quarterback. I also think that the Eagles are the better offense. I think they have a better run game. I think they have more weapons to go to in the offense. When you have Dodson, you have A.J. Brown, you have Devontae Smith. I just think that the Eagles are loaded. And you can't forget about the tight end, Dallas Goedert. To me, the Eagles are going to be a tank. Get all your jokes off that you got off on them last year. I think the Eagles return to form this year. And I have just decided, bro, I am such a liar. I apologize for that. This got to be a 2-parter. This will be a 2-hour episode if I do both teams. You want to know why? I forget how in depth I get about things at times. I could just easily say things and just move on, but then I get caught on one topic and I got to keep talking about it. And then I feel like I got to talk about it until I exhausted it. That's on me. So the way that I have the NFC East finishing: Eagles, Cowboys, Washington, New York. The South, that include the Falcons, the Panthers, the Bucks, and the Saints. This, to me, could end up being the worst division in football. Not much has changed in this division from last year, except for the Falcons, really. I think the Falcons are the clear favorites to win this division now. Whether Kirk Cousins start, whether Michael Penix start. I'm not really a fan of left-handed quarterbacks, but I'm very interested to see what happens. If Kirk Cousins stays healthy, I don't see him losing the starting quarterback job. The Falcons were one of the worst teams in the league last year, so they will have a favorable schedule. I like the weapons on the Falcons. I like the defense of the Falcons. I don't think it's a world-beating defense, but for the NFC, it's good enough. I really think the Falcons offense, this is the thing. If the Falcons offense is not a top echelon offense, because let's be honest, man, at some point in time, Falcons fans want to get back to having a good offense. The Falcons fans are used to having an explosive offense, and they haven't had that since the Super Bowl year. So I know they're ready to get back to having a good offense with the running back being covered, with the tight end position being covered. And hopefully your tight end finally get to show his skill set with the receiving position. I mean, you have the London. What's my man's name? The tight end. We know who I'm talking about. I can't remember my man's name at the moment. But then you got Bijan at the running back. They actually got two good running backs. But I think the Falcons will easily run away. Listen, if the Falcons do what they are supposed to do, they should run away with this division. Because I'm going to be a band with you. I don't think no team in this division is nearly as... I don't think no team in this division, just looking at them on their rosters. And it's not that I think Kirk Cousins is like some great quarterback, but they have so much talent on the offensive side of the ball. The Saints are playing with a lot of old legs on the defensive side of the ball. And the Saints, to me, I don't know when the Saints are going to decide to start a rebuild. It seems like they just keep hanging on to the last thread of this good Saints teams used to be. I don't understand it. The Panthers are still a very much an unknown going into the season. I'm still not a fan of the Panthers receiving core. I don't think the Panthers did enough to try to get better in the offseason on the offensive side of the ball. I don't understand why you don't go all out to trade for T. Higgins, since you already had did that anyways, to go get Bryce Young. Your mission going into the offseason should have been trying to trade for T. Higgins, because you knew you didn't have a first round pick in the draft this year. Your mission should have been, our first pick will be landing T. Higgins and giving him an extension. You did not do that. I don't understand why you didn't do it, because you need a big body receiver that's the number one like T. Higgins. So that is confusing to me. Not trying to go trade for Brandon Ayuk. I don't understand either of those. To me, the Panthers are a team that needs to go do that, because at the end of the day, as much as I like Bryce Young, he is still, my thing with Bryce Young is the height. Because I see how Kyler Murray had to play. I see how Russell Wilson have to play. And I see Drew Brees is just an outlier at this moment, because Drew Brees was probably the only short quarterback that I can think of off the top of my head that didn't have to overcompensate when he played in the pocket. He still was a great thrower of the football I know in the latter years of his career, he became more of a dink and dunk type of quarterback. But in Drew Brees' prime with the Saints, he was a vertical quarterback. He threw that bitch up the field. Now, he had a lot of talent on that offense also, but nonetheless, he didn't have a talent on the offense in his later years, and he was still a dink and dunk quarterback. So, to me, other than Drew Brees, I don't know if I done seen a short quarterback be able to dominate from the pocket the way he did. Because the way Russell Wilson and Kyler Murray play, to me, their success is backyard football type of play, where they can scramble around and the defense get out of position because they got to start chasing and somebody break open. That's when they are at their best. And if Bryce Young what you want to be is a Drew Brees. Knowing that at your height, you could still, operate from the pocket at a high level to be able to win a Super Bowl. Because if Drew Brees wasn't able to do what he was able to do at the pocket and be a vertical quarterback, thrower of the football, they wouldn't have won a Super Bowl. Like, I talk a lot of shit about Drew Brees. I don't know if I talk a lot of shit about Drew Brees. I talk a lot about the back end of his career. But in Drew Brees' prime, he was getting that shit up the field. That's what you need Bryce Young to be. I've seen people say that they think he could be more of Kyler Murray. I don't think that's the goal because I don't see Kyler Murray winning the Super Bowl. Russell won one because Russell had a legendary defense. Kyler Murray does not have a legendary defense, and neither does Bryce Young. And I don't also think that's something that you want to rely on. I think you would rather rely on becoming a great thrower of the ball and being able to operate from the pocket. Now, I'm not telling you that Kyler can't throw. I'm not telling you that Russ can't throw. But my biggest problem with Russell Wilson over his career has been how terrible he is when it comes to pocket presence and operating from the pocket on a down-to-down basis. Russell Wilson's success comes from being a backyard type of football player. Same with Kyler Murray. To me, that is not what you want to rely on because you take a lot of hits. You start piling up injuries, and you don't want that to become your career. So to me, the Panthers have to focus in on getting a phenomenal offensive line, which I still don't think they are at yet. Bryce Young have to become a great thrower of the ball from the pocket. He got to be able to operate from the pocket, and they got to go get the weapons for him. I just don't think they have the weapons for him right now either. And so this could be a year of the same old shit from last year for the Panthers, to be completely honest with you, because I don't think you went out and got a player that was good enough. I always say it when I talk about the Ravens. Who did you bring in that will make Lamar better? Not who did you bring in that Lamar going to make better. Not who did you bring in where, hey, if we put him with Lamar going to get a lot out of him. No. Who did you bring in? When you bring him in, you can instantly say he is going to make Lamar Jackson better. Because I'm looking at the Eagles and I said, A.J. Brown, they brought him in. He is going to make Jalen Hurts better. Oh, you bring in Devontae? He is going to make Jalen Hurts better. Oh, you brought in Saquon. He is going to make Jalen Hurts better. It cannot always be who will my quarterback make better. At some point in time, you have to bring in players whereas they make my top quarterback better. It cannot always be on the quarterback to make everybody else better and to make up the difference in talent. It cannot be that. I don't know how long Lamar got to be a great quarterback because for the majority of his career, if not for all of it, it's been Lamar, go make them better. Chiefs fans have seen Pat Mahomes have to make people better over the last couple years, but they still had Tyreek in his prime. They still had Kelsey in his prime. They have a great defense now. So they're more understanding on it. But when you have, and it hasn't always been on Pat Mahomes, but right now, when I look at the Panthers, who are you going to bring in that's going to make, and this is a crazy question seeing as how Bryce is a fucking rookie. He is on a rookie fucking contract. You should have had 2 or 3 motherfuckers in the building by now that could have made him better. And you don't. That's a problem. So, with that, I got one more team to talk about before we tell you where every team is ranked. And then the Bucks. Barrett retired over the offseason. Levante is back. Old legs, though. Listen, to me, the Bucks are not a great team. They did what they did last year because they played in one of the worst, if not worst, division in football last year. Excuse me. And then they got the matchup against a terrible Eagles team that was on a downslide. I think that the Bucks will be a bad team this year. I don't think Baker Mayfield is a good quarterback. I don't believe that he is even a... This is not a Baker Mayfield rant video. Listen, let's rank them because I don't have much to say about the Bucks. You'll figure out what I feel about them when I rank them. In last place in the division, I think it will still be the Panthers. Because like I said, I just don't know what you did to help this team get better. I would like to see the Panthers break out, but I just don't see it yet. The Saints will finish in third in this division because I still do not believe in Derek Carr. And Derek Carr at this moment to me is starting to look worse than Baker Mayfield at certain points. And this is my thing with Derek Carr, man. And I done said it a lot, bro. He is probably a good dude. But, bro, at some point in time, nobody gives a fuck. You got to produce on the field. Derek Carr, I done said it every year. He played to the level of his competition more than any player I've ever seen. If he play against a good quarterback, if Derek Carr go into a game and you say, Derek Carr better than this quarterback, he definitely going to outplay him. He's not. He's going to play as good, if not worse, than that other quarterback. If you go into a game against a quarterback who is better than Derek Carr, you want to know what Derek Carr might do? Play to that quarterback's level. It makes no sense. But more times than not, Derek Carr plays below average, in my opinion. Derek Carr, to me, is an average quarterback at best at this point in his career. He does not make players better. I don't know if he see the field as good anymore because Derek Carr is a very confusing quarterback at this point in his career. I'm not going to lie to you. After watching him his entire career, he's starting to look more and more like a backup every fucking year. I'm not going to lie to you. If I think Baker midfielder, that's what's so crazy. I would take Baker over a Derek Carr right now. And I mean, you about to see that because I put the Bucks higher than them. But to me, I don't get it. I really don't understand how Derek Carr play as bad as he play at times. This is a dude who can clearly sling the ball around, but his decision making not there. People like to blame the offense. People blame the players. Derek Carr done played with great players throughout his career. I do not understand how Derek Carr has underachieved at the level of which he is. He has had one good season as a pro, and he got hurt that year. Every season before or after has been average to below average to just okay. Derek Carr, to me, is not that guy, and it's been that way for a little minute. But it's even worse in my opinion because I actually think he is starting to look like a backup masquerading as a starter. Derek Carr might give you 2 games a season where he looked like a competent starting quarterback. Aside from that, he looked like a high tier backup in my opinion. I mean, at this point, I'm taking Jared Goff over him. As limited as I think Jared Goff is, I'd take him over him. I'd take Baker over him. I'd probably take every single quarterback in the NFC North over him, except for the Vikings mystery at quarterback. I would take every quarterback over him in the NFC East, except for Daniel Jones. I'd take every quarterback over him in the NFC South, except for, no, I would take every single quarterback over him in the NFC South. The only reason I have the Panthers under them is because I think the Panthers as a whole are a worser team. And then in the NFC West, I take every quarterback they have over him also. So to me, Derek Carr, in my opinion, might be the actual. Between Derek Carr and Daniel Jones, those to me, they having a field day on which one is the worst quarterback in the NFC at this moment, in my opinion. And I didn't think I would ever get to this moment with Derek Carr. I didn't even know going into this video or into this show that I was going to talk about Derek Carr like that. Hell, I didn't know I was going to be saying this shit about Derek Carr till like 2-3 minutes ago. But that is truly how I feel about Derek Carr. And that's why I got them finishing in 3rd in the division. They lucky I ain't got them finishing in last in the division. In 2nd place in the division, I got the Bucks finishing. This is the thing about this division. Only one team might end up with a winning record in this division this year, just like last year. And the Bucks barely had a winning record this year. Last year. I believe that the Falcons will win the division and they'll be the only team in this division that finishes over 500. I actually think the Falcons are going to end up sweeping at least 2 teams in this division. Whether it be the Panthers, the Bucks, or the Saints, I don't know. But 2 of them teams, I think the Falcons will go a 4-0 over. So I think they'll go 2. I think the Panthers will probably be one of them that they end up beating twice this year. But the Saints or the Bucks, one of those 2 teams, they could possibly end up going 6-0 against the entire division. That's how much better I think the Falcons are right now on paper than every other team in the NFC South right now. So Falcons, Bucks, Saints, Panthers. And I think Derek Carr is the worst quarterback in the entire NFC. Possibly Daniel Jones is worse. No, Daniel Jones is 100% worse. In the NFC West, you got the Niners, the Rams, the Cards, and the Seahawks. Now, I'm going to go ahead and tell you right now that I got the Seahawks finishing. Actually, nope. I just changed my mind just like that. I got the Cardinals finishing in last in this division. I do like Kyler Murray, like I said, but that style of play is just not going to work for me. I'm not the biggest fan of all the skill position. The offensive line is all right. The defense is all right. To me, it's that time for the Cards where it's time to start rebuilding. So I'm interested to see how they start to rebuild around Kyler Murray because I think it's that time. That window, and they really haven't had a window. They really just had 1 year where they were great. But The Cardinals right now haven't seemed to been able to put together 2 great seasons back to back with Kyler Murray. That's becoming a problem in my opinion, because now I'm starting to think, will you ever be able to figure out how to maximize the talent of a Kyler Murray? And is Kyler Murray a franchise quarterback at this point? So I'm very interested to see what the Cardinals. Now I'm putting them in last because I don't really have much hope or faith in that division. I mean, in that roster right now. But I am interested more so, even though I don't have a lot of faith in the roster, I just want to see what the Cardinals look like this year, to be completely honest with you, because I'm not sure what to expect out of the out of the Cardinals this year. To me, coming into this year, the Cardinals are one of the biggest unknowns going into the season. Like, I don't know what the fuck to expect from the Falcons. Jesus Christ, from the Cardinals. I know what I think I expect from the Falcons. I don't know what to expect from the Cardinals, so I had them finishing in last in the division. The Seahawks I have finishing in 3rd place. Now, this is what's interesting. I actually wanted to put the Seahawks in 2nd, but I simply cannot do that because I have no faith in Geno or Lockett or whoever the fuck else they might be having run quarterback over there. And this is the problem with the Falcons. I mean, this is the thing with the Seahawks. I like the new head coach, Ravens defensive coordinator, McDaniels now goes over to Seattle as their new head coach, new regime over there. No more Pete Carroll. I'm very excited to see where this goes with the Seahawks. I think it was a much needed thing because the defense, as good as it's been or as okay as it's been, they haven't been what you expect the Seahawks defense to have been in years. So I'm very interested to see, and no Bobby Wagner. So I do think it'll take about a year or two for McDaniels to get his guys in there for the defense to get where it need to be. However, you still have one of the better receiving groups and talent groups in the NFL. But see, that's my problem. You still don't have the quarterback to go with that type of talent. And I said it all last year. I have not seen a team that's got the type of talent that the Seahawks have on it just wasted on a week-to-week basis because the offensive coordinator does not know how to run an offense right now with this type of talent. When you have this type of talent on your team, you got 3 receivers. 2, you could really say all 3 of them is number 1 type talents, but you got 3 stud receivers, and then Jigba, Lockett, and Metcalf. And somehow, on a week-to-week basis, it's a struggle offensively for this team. I don't understand it. I do believe things will change now that McDaniels is there. However, they still need a quarterback. I will not get off of the fact that I think that the Jets and the Seahawks should have been the 2 teams that went all out to try to get Lamar Jackson. When you already have in place what you have in place for both of those teams, I don't care if you don't think the Ravens going to trade him. You have to put together a package that you feel like the Ravens cannot reject. Because if you had Lamar Jackson right now with Metcalf, Lockett, and then Jigba. Now, you probably wouldn't have Smith and Jigba, but you would probably still have both of those receivers. You want to know why? Because the Ravens don't trade for receivers because they don't want to pay them. So you 100% were going to keep those 2 receivers and have Lamar Jackson. So I don't understand the decision to not go out and trade for Lamar Jackson. I really don't. With the Falcons, they praying that Michael Penix is end up a stud because their dumbass owner said that they thought they had Lamar Jackson at home. And Desmond Ritter. Unbelievable. To me, this division, though, will end up being a 3-team race all the way up probably to the middle of the season where the quarterback play fall all the way off of the Seahawks. And then it will end up being a battle between the Rams and the Niners. Now, I do think the Rams will finish in 2nd just because I don't think they have a better roster than the Niners. But I do think they have a phenomenal head coach. And so I do think they'll be a playoff team, a wild card team. I just don't think the Rams will finish in 1st in this division. I still think that the 49ers have the better roster. But I'm looking forward to the day when the 49ers team start to become very real tested, because quarterbacks and other teams have better defenses. They have franchise level quarterbacks because they've been able to eat a conference that just haven't had the top tier play from that position for a little minute now. So that is my NFC predictions. I'm sorry to the 49er fans if you feel like I sold you short. To the Rams fans, don't get mad. I talk about the Rams all fucking year. So there will be more than enough makeup talk for the Rams and probably for the 49ers too, because they're a good team. So we usually talk about them. But with that being said, I appreciate you for joining me on another episode of Kicking It with Saint. Tell somebody you fuck with him. Tell somebody you love him. You can be anything in this world. So please choose to be kind to somebody today. I fuck with you. I love you. Saint out.
And we will do anything for family. Now go home and smoke some more crack.
I got the moves like hot sauce. Lil' mama taking the top off. I'm laying down getting topped off. After this, she know she getting knocked off. I know she loving the money, so I keep on thumbing and thumbing. She say she horny when she taking shots, so I keep them coming and coming. Now I'm putting dick in her tummy. Scoop her up like I'm raking her something. You would think shawty red track, the way that she running and running. You getting dumber and dumber. You out here chasing the bone. After she finished from giving me dome, the Uber is taking her home. Tight.